Good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm starting a couple of minutes late and I do apologize for that. It is Tuesday morning. It's June 1st. It's around 8:30 my time. I was just finishing up a meditation class that I take every Tuesday morning and coming into this space. I just wanted to take a moment and welcome you whenever you might be watching this, whether it's on Tuesday, June 1st, or maybe a little bit later. Welcome. My name is Glenda. I am the director of Mindful Healing Space. I'm a psychotherapist, yoga and meditation teacher. And the purpose of Mindful Healing Space has always been and continues to be, it evolves, of course, but to create a space where we can use the tools of meditation, of reflection, of movement, of stillness, of lots of things that we might be able to use to really create both mindfulness, but mindfulness so that we might be able to come into a different space with ourselves, with the world around us, so that we might heal, I guess, if that's the right word we can use. To be on our journey of self-discovery, of coming back to our true self, coming back to our true self, our self, capital S self, that part of us that is whole, is perfect, that is, often described by many people as soul or essence or higher power, whatever you might call it. It's that part within us that is witness to the other things going on inside our own minds, to the thoughts that whirl in the mind that keeps us occupied, perhaps. So as we start a new month, it's always this beautiful time, this easy time, if you will, like mornings or new moons, which we'll do next week, or these other opportunities, both within our day or a month or a year, where we get to start anew, where we can go, okay, it's like a fresh start. I can begin something. Often when we're doing these 21 or 30-day challenges, they start at the beginning of the month because it's this way of kind of going, okay, it's the beginning. It's the beginning. And so as we take an opportunity to reflect perhaps also on the past month, we also start to look forward. And so I want to acknowledge what's been going on in the world, or at least here in Canada, which I think is, although it wasn't obviously planned this way, the monthly theme for June is shine, to shine our light. And as I was reflecting upon it yesterday, thinking about how things happen, that here is this theme that also very much coincides with the events that are happening in Canada, which is that light has been shined upon one of our more ugly parts of our history, the reality of the treatment, the abuse, the horrific tragedy that the colonizers, myself, my family, my history included, the settlers to this country did to the Indigenous population. Thousands and thousands of children taken away, stripped of their cultural identity in an attempt to, well, I mean, I think it is what it is, cultural genocide, not only through systemic abuse that still exists today. So even though the schools were closed some 25 years ago, which isn't that long, my lifetime for sure, that the systemic racism exists and continues to affect a whole group of people, a community of people, And as I was writing and contemplating the donation I was giving this month, a cause very near and dear to me is those of the murdered and missing Indigenous women who, thousands again of people just lost and forgotten, but not forgotten, as this demonstration of not only the intersectionality of racism and misogyny and white supremacy that exists in this country, as it does in many places in the world, but to not think that we are immune to it, because we are not. And so it's an opportunity to shine light on that which needs to be seen, to be acknowledged, to be witnessed before it can be transformed into something else, before the reconciliation or the restorative justice can occur. Part of it needs to be that we see in the collective the things that have happened. We acknowledge it. We don't try to brush it away. We don't try to make sense of it. We don't try to justify it. We don't do these things. We have to simply face the reality of the choices that those people who we elected, to whom we gave power, did this. And it affects all of us, whether you want to believe it or not. When we are not, when, the saying goes, when not all of us are free, then none of us are free. So thinking about the racism, the systemic racism that exists, that the misogyny, the patriarchy that exists in our systems, it affects all of us. And therefore we should be, if you need a personal reason to collectively stand up and fight for this, then there it is. It is but one step away from affecting you. But also it is imperative that we all take responsibility for our collective pasts. It is like looking at our own shadows. It's really important for us to acknowledge our own shadow, because we all have one, but we also have one as a collective. And so although originally when I was thinking of shining your light, it was like this idea of coming alive and thinking about that essence, that part of you. But in that is also this other part, which is our shadow. And so as we connect to our true self, it's also about looking and shining light on those shadow parts of ourselves that maybe we don't want to acknowledge, and to be able to shine the light and to integrate it again, because that's the way forward. That's the way towards restorative justice for everyone. And so as you sit in contemplation today, it's hard to sit with these challenging things, these challenging feelings. It's hard to sit with and not go, well, they did that. No, we did that. The collective we did this. So whether it was you personally or not is irrelevant. Most people maybe didn't have any didn't even know this existed. Like some people are still kind of even just learning about the residential school systems. We want to vilify the Catholic Church, who obviously participated. So it's not to say that they weren't a part of this, but it wasn't the Catholic Church that did this. It was the collective. It was a large group of people. It was those people were complicit who elected the politicians themselves, the churches and the people that participated in it, the communities that knew it was happening and allowed it to continue. As soon as we can move from they did it to we did it, there we can find healing, and we can find a movement towards something else, Restorative justice requires all of us to take responsibility for our actions and the impact of those actions on others, and the intergenerational trauma that is now still going on. And so if you ever wonder why something is, you only need to look at the history, even in our own lives, right? So relate it back to your own life. We are a product of our lived experience to this point. It isn't to blame what happened, but to explain it in a way that because of this experience, these things that have happened, these are the things that I've learned. These are the patterns of behavior. This is the emotions that exist within me that are impacting my behavior in the now and potentially in the future. And so if I want to change the future, I need to be able to heal that which has happened in my past. Okay. Taking a moment now, just perhaps with your hand to your heart, closing your eyes and just taking a few moments to sit in contemplation, just noticing your breath, noticing your heartbeat, finding a place of gratitude and compassion within you, both for your own experience and for the experience that others may be having today and this week, sending compassion to the communities around us who are in mourning. Just allowing your body to settle, allowing your mind to settle for these next few moments. Through all the thoughts, the sensations, the emotions, thinking of them like clouds in the sky. They are not you. Finding that essence within you, perhaps in your heart space. Perhaps it's a feeling. Perhaps it's a color or a light. That part of you, that grace, ease, beauty, joy, compassion. Even if but for moments, glimpses of time with your breath. Can you feel it? Can you connect to that? I wanted to encourage a new practice. Many of you probably already do it. Some of you do, some of you don't, but encourage a new practice. That is journaling, a way to write, a way to connect to our thoughts and feelings, and perhaps give some perspective to what is going on internally. Sometimes it becomes so raveled up where we believe we are the clouds in the sky, where we become attached and enmeshed with those thoughts or feelings that we forget that we, that collective, or that, pardon me, that self, the capital S self, is not the thoughts or the feelings. We are not that. And so as we think about shining your light, right, we all have this inner light, the soul, this energy, higher power, whatever you want to call it, the witness. I'm going to call it self. When we are connected to this part of ourselves, we act with integrity and truth, and we are most powerful here. We are most powerful. It is this simple voice within us, sometimes softer, but definitely firm. It has no story, it simply is. So if you have your pen and paper handy, maybe consider putting pen to paper right now and asking yourself, when do you feel most connected to this part of you, your capital S self, your light, your essence? What are you doing when you feel connected or not doing? As we continue to move forward, remembering that at any time you can just come back to these. This will be available to you, these questions. What higher value or virtue would self like to engage more fully in? So what essence is it that this part of you wants you to shine a little bit brighter? Joy, love, compassion, truth, radiance, forgiveness, all of those beauty, those beautiful qualities that exist, grace, ease. What is it that it's calling you to engage more fully in? And what might that look like? How would that virtue like to be expressed as we come into this month of June, with the days longer, the sun shining brightly, hopefully, wherever you are? What is your self whispering to you? As you write, just allow your hand to move on the paper. Don't think too much about it. We sometimes call this conscious writing. So or unconscious writing, you're just writing. Just allow the pen to move. Don't allow your brain to get too caught up in it. This isn't about perfection. No one needs to read this. It isn't about grammar, spelling, or penmanship. It is simply about allowing a space for your inner self to come out, for you to connect in a way from your heart out your arms and into your hands to the pen. What is your self whispering to you? As we continue the theme of the spring into summer solstice on the 20th, we have had a theme of coming alive. And part of this has been learning to care for self, to nourish self, which was our theme last month. How do you need to better care for yourself? What are those things that you really need to continue to practice or to try to incorporate into your daily life? What are those practices that would continue to nourish you? Remembering that when we plant the seed, as we did a few months ago, the seed of intention is planted. Like any seed, we need to continue to water it and give it the things that it needs: sun, food, water, to be nourished and to allow it to grow. Things don't happen overnight. Plants don't get, I wish I just planted my garden. It doesn't happen quite that way, right? It takes days, weeks for it to grow and blossom into something. And we are the same. Sometimes it takes years to blossom into something. And it requires us, though, to continue to water and care, to provide what it needs, provide what we need. How can you best shine this month? How can you allow that light within you to come forth? How do you need to step forward? Or what do you need to get out of the way in order to shine more brightly this month? Howard Thurman's beautiful quote: "Don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive and go do it." Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. This month, on Friday, June 4th, I'll be leading a yoga nidra all about connecting to this beautiful part of ourself, of allowing ourself to shine. Yoga nidra is a beautiful meditative practice done lying down, where I guide you through a process of connecting to this inner world within us. It is a wonderful addition to someone's meditation practice, but also an easy entry into a meditative practice if you do not already have one. I encourage you all to join me there on Friday. Please, if you want to RSVP, even if you can't attend live, that way you will get the recording of it, because I only send it to those people who RSVP. If you are a member of the Mindful Healing community, you are invited to join free, and otherwise there is a nominal charge for attending. On the 10th, on Thursday the 10th, will be our new moon meditation, where we'll be doing some movement practice, some really gentle movement, some meditation, some more journaling, some conversation around the new moon as another potential starting point, or at least a beginning and to a month of kind of reflection, or perhaps implementation of something that we might want to be doing in our lives. So we'll be doing that on the 10th, and then on the 18th, I'll be leading a webinar on facing our fears, because this is part of the challenge. Okay, we can connect to ourselves, but then often what stops us from the movement or action forward are our own fears, our own emotions. Not unlike what I talked about at the beginning, right? Our own fragility, our own ego stops us from being in a place of holding space for the pain and the suffering of others. And so it's really important for us to be able to learn how to be in our own discomfort, our own fear, and continue to step forward. And how do we do that? And that's what we'll be talking about in the webinar this month. I hope you'll be able to join. Otherwise, have a wonderful month. And please feel free to email if you have any questions or anything comes up for you, and if anything's unclear. Have a blessed day. Be well.